Support for this episode is provided by Pennsylvania College of Art and Design and listeners like you.
Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser. This episode we speak with comic book enthusiast Matthew Rodriguez.
During this episode, we talk with Matthew about some of the things that really got him into becoming such a large comic book fan.
First, I want to go back. What was your first comic book?
The first one that I owned was one that my Uncle Steve bought for me. I think it was when I turned 7. It was a Fantastic Four annual, and it was tied into this story where it was called Atlantis Attacks. It was this big story, and involved the X-Men, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four, and a bunch of other heroes.
Later we get more in depth with Matthew about comic books' inclusion of social issues.
I think one of the earlier attempts with writing a gay character was Terry Berg in Green Lantern number 154 of the series with Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern. He was an assistant to him when he was writing a cartoon strip in a newspaper, a magazine actually, and he got beaten severely as a gay hate crime. And then Green Lantern went out and sought vengeance on the guys who beat him up. It was actually an award-winning story arc.
Enjoy the conversation. Well, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
We're going to talk about a bunch of different types of stuff, but most of it's going to kind of fall under the comic book genre of things, topics. So I guess to start off, let's just talk about comic books in general. Like, how did you get into them?
Well, it started out when I was a little kid, and when I would join my mom going grocery shopping, I would just go right to the back of the store and look at the rolling rack of comic books. And that's how I occupied myself. And I don't know, they were colorful and exciting, I guess.
Were there any, like, certain heroes that stuck out or series at that age?
Kind of a lot of them. I don't know. I liked Silver Surfer early on. I liked a lot of the group stories where there's a lot of characters involved.
Yeah.
So,
you know, when I first got into comics, it was pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we'd be at the grocery store and I'd just go to the magazines and I would find the comics, or I'd look at a Wizard magazine.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I didn't quite get into that, but yeah.
But, I mean, it had pictures of superheroes in it.
Yep.
More than anything else. I didn't really care what it said. I would look at that. But, of course, you know, I fell for Spider-Man right away. Like, that's what captured me. But,
and he had his cartoon with his amazing friends.
Right.
So.
And then the 90s cartoon was awesome.
Yes, it was.
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah. Like that
Batman the Animated
Batman.
Series.
Mm-hmm.
They were the cartoons to watch. But surprisingly, I mean, I had like a bunch of different weird, like random, like, this comic looks cool, like, well, let me pick it up. But like the ones that I collected or got a lot of were Sonic the Hedgehog. Is that random? Like, it's totally not like a superhero at all, but for some reason, like, I really like latched onto the Sonic story, and I had all of them for like years.
Well, Archie's really popular too, so
that's true.
There's all kinds of comics out there.
Hey, Garfield.
Garfield? Yeah. So what was the first comic that you started following, like, religiously?
I think Avengers and X-Men and the X titles. I liked X-Force and X-Factor, and I don't know, the mutants and their cool powers were really neat.
What's your first, I want to go back. What was your first comic book?
The first one that I owned was one that my Uncle Steve bought for me. I think it was when I turned 7. It was a Fantastic Four annual, and it was tied into this story where it was called Atlantis Attacks. It was this big story, and involved the X-Men, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four, and a bunch of other heroes. So, yep.
Dropped you right. I don't even remember. I feel like mine was a Fantastic Four, like, super what did they call them? Super giant issues back then?
Yeah, like 80-page giants.
Yeah, I think it was one of those. I think they were fighting the Mole Man. That's all I really remember.
Yeah, honestly, I've never actually owned any comic books except for Garfield. But the first action superhero comic book I read was, I think, Superman.
I'm going to put in, like, I'm going to edit the show, like, when you said that, it's like, oh! It's a big crowd.
I never owned any.
Oh.
That is
sad. Yeah, jerk.
So your uncle got you your first comic.
Yeah.
So your family, like, embrace, like, supporting this interest for you?
Not really. My dad didn't think anything of it at the time, but my mom pretty quickly was calling them evil and demonic and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess not really. No.
My mom never did that. Her thing was that the girls were dressed too scantily clad.
Oh yeah.
There was always that threat of, like, I don't know if you should get these anymore because of these girls. The way that
there is that, yeah. But, especially depending on the artist.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. So where did it go from there? Where did your hobby? What was the next step?
Well, I started really collecting when I was 18, and like had enough money to get like a regular amount of books each month. So we call it a pull when you like have books that you get from a comic store each month regular. So I had my own box, and I think I started out with like 7 books a month, and now it's like up to somewhere between 30 and 40. So yeah, pretty much got addicted.
So where do you keep all of these books?
In long boxes in one of our bedrooms at my house.
So it takes up the whole room. It's just comic books.
About a third to a half of the room. Maybe not that much, but yeah, it takes up a good portion. I have 32 long boxes now, so.
Wow. My curiosity is that, you know, it used to be a big deal to keep them. And like to have like the real to collect them. Are they still worth the same amount of money as they used to?
Yeah, I don't know why that was. It seemed to be mostly in the 90s where like they were huge collector's items, and like there was like weird things like holographic covers, and that was like supposedly worth more. I don't know. They sold a lot more too, but yeah, that didn't quite last.
Right.
So now it's just true collectors that collect them that really like them, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when the whole Superman died comic book came out, and there was my friend bought 2. One he read, and one that he left in the plastic sleeve because he was going to save it because it was worth something. And then
that was a huge story,
right?
Yeah.
But then they made so many copies of it that it's actually worthless.
I think that seems to be what happened.
I was recently reading a Cracked article about how technology and stuff has killed our nostalgia, and one of them I think was the things they listed was like comic books. They're so cheap and easy to make, like it's not as much of a collector's thing to do anymore, and you can just jump on eBay. And
That's true.
You know,
yeah.
Superman #1.
I get a lot of my back issues from a local flea market, and like, I don't know, I pay like less than $1 for each one.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, it happens.
Are there still comic books out there that are considered rare?
Yes. They're just, you'd have to look in the price guide, the comics price guide. Each year there's a new one released, and it lists each one and what condition it's in, and then how much it's worth in that condition. Yeah, you can own a comic that's worth like at least $50, and I mean Action Comics #1, if you have that, that's Superman's first appearance, and that's like worth $1 million for whoever's willing to spend that.
how far does your fandom go? I mean, obviously, you have a pool, a pretty large pool, well, what I would consider a large pool, and then you're wearing a Hawkman shirt. And you told us
that was custom made over the weekend.
Yeah, you told me you had some custom made superhero shirts made over the weekend. So, like, where has your fandom taken you? Like, what kind of crazy things have you done? And then, also, along that lines, what is the line that you have for yourself where you're like, that's something I would do, but I know if I do that, I've crossed some sort of, like...
Well, I would love to work at DC Comics in some capacity, honestly. The craziest thing I've done, I think maybe last year when I dressed up as Zatanna, the Mistress of Magic for DC Comics,
nice.
For Halloween. So,
and is there anything like, is there a line?
I don't think so.
No?
He is all in.
Yeah,
I have some nerd lines, and a couple weeks ago on our video game episode, I stated that one of them was like playing Dungeons and Dragons. And
I've never done that.
And I'm like, if I ever do that, I've officially crossed a certain line, and there's no going back. I can never say that I don't play this game again.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to any games yet. I don't know. I'm in like about 15 to 20 different comic geek groups though on Facebook, so I admin a few of them at least. So
wow,
yeah.
Wow. How about the comic conventions? You go to any of those?
I've been to one so far. I think that was in 2009. I went to Wizard World in Philly.
Nice.
So, yep.
This will be my third year going to the New York Comic Con.
Really?
You should check that out.
I've wanted to. It just hasn't worked out before, but yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm always surprised. Like, I mean, like, to get into them, it's not nearly as expensive as you would imagine.
Okay.
Like, New York Comic Con's still under $100 for 4 days.
Not bad.
But it's getting there and staying there and all that stuff that really just racks up the bill,
We're just over in Jersey City, basically, New York, over the weekend visiting a friend, so, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just kind of there.
So we talked about getting into comic books, and then some of the comic books you were drawn to that you liked. What was a story or a specific book that, when you read it, it just really affected you?
There's been so many. So I actually don't own any Marvel comics anymore. I don't know. I had about a handful over the years and just sort of lost them, or my parents took them away. But yeah, like with this, what was it called? The After Xavier Age of Apocalypse event with Marvel. That's when I sort of got interested in DC more, and my whole collection now is DC and Vertigo and all the other imprints with DC. And I think one of my favorite stories, I don't know, I'm trying to think, there's just so many. You have to give me a moment. I guess I'll just mention The Authority, the Volume 1. That's when I got introduced to that team and series. And the first 12 issues, they tackled a lot of things. Like, you see right off the bat, there's Apollo and Midnighter, and they're a gay couple, and they're sort of like DC's Batman and Superman. And their relationship is played off just really naturally. And they also, right away, are shown as a very proactive team, tackling like dictatorships around the world, and just the tough issues that, they're not just dealing with bank robbers or like ordinary crimes, that they're not like rescuing just a cat from a tree or something like that. It was big issues. So.
And what about maybe a series that solidified your love for DC?
I'd say New Teen Titans was one of my first real favorite series. I like the diversity of the team. There was an alien, there's a half demon girl. Her father's a demon, and so she's constantly trying to control her emotions. And there's Beast Boy, who became known as Changeling, and he changes into all different kinds of animals, and they're all green. And then there's Cyborg, and he's a black man, and he's half machine and half human. And then there's Robin leading them, and Wonder Girl and Kid Flash. Yeah.
Along those lines, I have to ask, do you watch any of the DC cartoons or anything?
It's been a while, but yeah, I think the first one I started watching was like Batman the Animated Series, and I remember bits and pieces of like Super Friends, and,
yeah,
which is older, but
I got into. They just put out Young Justice.
Yeah, that's become pretty popular.
It's good. It's basically kind of Teen Titans,
Yeah.
Not really, but.
I didn't care for the Teen Titans cartoon at first.
Nor did I.
It was like they were trying to make it like Looney Tunes or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Young Justice with the animation style, and yeah, it's more of a serious take, but still fun.
Yeah. So, our audience is probably wondering, we're having this comic discussion, but there's got to be a deeper point to this. And we're going to get to that in the second half after the break. Hey Keith, I have a question here from the audience. They're asking, what are your opinions on world hunger?
Well, I'm not hungry.
Keith, now's not the time for those kind of answers. This is a serious podcast.
But I am serious. I'm seriously not hungry.
You know what? I'm just gonna save this and the rest of the questions I have here for Guys Night.
Guys Night? Hey, I like girls.
No, you've got it wrong. Guys Night is when four professionals in the podcast world, you, me, Jason Mundock from the Round the Wood Stove, and Sean V. Martin from Sean and Carter Have a Podcast, we sit down and we answer questions from the audience.
Dude, you totally just said I'm professional.
Look, if anyone's still listening to us at this point, and you want to be a part of the Guys Night, just go to Facebook or Twitter or our website and leave us a question on one of the posts. And it could be anything completely random, from what our opinions of world hunger is to what summer tastes like to us. We'd love to answer your questions.
Now that you mention it, I'm a little hungry right now, but definitely not hungry to eat the whole world. Seriously.
Keith!
And we're back with Matt Rodriguez. Let's move on to comic books and the adult themes that are in comic books as far as the social issues. Mm-hmm. You being a gay man, can you tell us a little bit about that in comic books?
Yeah, there's actually been a surprising amount of comics with that. Right now in DC, there's the most recent character that's been popularized and is gay is the Green Lantern of Earth 2. There's a series called Earth 2, and it's on Earth 2. It's Alan Scott. He wasn't gay before the big DC relaunch, but they've reintroduced him as such. And what's really interesting now is with his ring, it's symbolic for the ring he was going to propose to his boyfriend with. So that was just recently revealed in the latest issue of Earth 2. There's also Apollo and Midnighter. They're kind of like DC's Batman and Robin. They're in the Stormwatch title. And there's the lesbian Batwoman, and she has her own title. And that's about it right now. But there's been other characters too.
Which Batwoman is that? Is that Stephanie?
No, Stephanie Brown was Batgirl, and she was Spoiler, but Batwoman is Kate Kane. She was introduced in the series called 52.
Okay, so the new launch is new.
Yeah, her title started with a 0 issue right before the relaunch happened, and then the number 1 came out in September last year.
Was she from the previous universe too?
Yes.
Okay, and was she Batwoman then as well?
Yes.
man, how do I not know about this person? I feel the Bat Family is like the DC.
She was a lesbian, and so you didn't have a chance with her.
Oh, that's
so
why I just tuned it out. The Bat Family is like the one big DC thing that I really kind of.
It's weird.
Follow.
Batman's supposed to be a loner, supposedly, but like he has a huge family.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes they're spread out, and sometimes they're like all with him. And, anyway,
I guess Batman was just her inspiration, though. She's in no way related to him.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she's part of it.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, there's been several Batgirls, even.
Yeah, well, I knew about the Batgirls. That's why I was kind of like, wait a minute. It's the last one that I remember was the Stephanie.
Stephanie Brown was the Batgirl.
She was Robin
right before,
for a while, right?
Yeah, she started out as Spoiler, and then she was Robin for a little while, and then she became Batgirl. Cassandra Cain passed down the name and costume to her.
Yeah, I liked her Batgirl.
Yeah, it was a fun series.
Back to where we were talking about before. Talk about superheroes, and I'm all over the place. What did you say?
Look, there's Catwoman.
What?
Quick, take his water.
We had spoken before, and I know that you talked about the Apollo and Knight Rider relationship, like really shedding a positive light in the comic world on a gay relationship.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of that, or is a lot of these things kind of for either spectacle or to maybe appeal to a certain demographic to get them to buy books?
Yeah, I think there's some of both. I think I don't know so much with Marvel because I don't follow them very much, but I know. I mean, DC tells really good stories with some of their gay characters, and then some of it can be over the top. I mean, one of their characters they've had in a series called New Guardians. It was from the early '90s. He was over the top, and just I didn't care for him at all. I didn't get that series even at all. But I think one of the earlier attempts with writing a gay character was Terry Berg in Green Lantern number 154 of the series with Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern. He was an assistant to him when he was writing a cartoon strip in a newspaper, a magazine actually, and he got beaten severely as a gay hate crime, and then Green Lantern went out and sought vengeance on the guys who beat him up. It was actually an award-winning story arc.
My first exposure to that I can remember of homosexuality in the comic books was with North Star, because I'm more of a Marvel person. So.
Yeah,
and
I think he was comics' first gay character.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I obviously learned about it, I think, way into it, so it was less of a spectacle when it just was brought up, and it was not even really like a big deal. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because it was much quieter than I would have assumed that topic would have been. I mean, of course, recently he got married, so that was like another big, cover, several cover kind of thing. So
I actually bought the proposal issue, and then when they had the wedding, the next issue of Astonishing X-Men 50 and 51. Just because it was a big event and it's interesting to me.
So now are comic books, the stories, I don't know how long these characters have been around. I guess you said in the 90s or something.
It all depends on the character.
But
yeah.
You'll have to give him a break. I mean, Garfield's only 3 panels, so his stories don't go for very long.
But I'm pretty sure Yodi.
Yodi?
Yeah, or Yodi.
Odie?
Odie. I got mixed up with yoga.
You don't even know the character's name.
Wow.
Odie,
Yodi was when Odie dressed up like Yoda.
Yeah.
That one strip, and he just
Yodi's his alternate character. Yodi's his boyfriend. No,
it's possible.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, Keith. You had a serious question, and I called you.
I did. Now it's gone. Now the question was...
Continuity.
Do you feel that the comic books are ahead of the social time, or catching up with it, or right in line with, as far as...
I think some are, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that they really try to be relevant anymore to what's going on in the world. And one series that I was getting from DC is GI Combat, and they actually... I was surprised they're actually using, like, real countries, and usually, at least with DC, when they're talking about bad things happening in other countries, they make up countries. And, yeah, with this GI Combat, they have, like, terrorists infiltrating America in the Unknown Soldier story. And, yeah, he is trying to stop them, and they're actually... they're like Islamic terrorists, it seems, and they're actually not Arab-looking at all. So it makes it even tougher for him, and it's pretty suspenseful, actually. So.
What about that line of like cashing in on things? Like you don't ever read a book and you're just like, oh, they had to go there because they're cashing in on this subject.
Yeah, that does happen. I mean, I was actually a little. Annoyed, I guess, at first with the news of Alan Scott being reintroduced in DC as gay, because before the big DC relaunch that happened last year, he was he's supposed to be one of the oldest characters. He's the original Green Lantern from the Justice Society, and he debuted in the late 30s or 40s, and his son actually became gay. He wasn't first revealed as gay, but he had a really cool coming out story, I thought. So, and what was cool was that Alan Scott was very accepting of it and didn't like make a big deal once he became comfortable. And just, I liked seeing that relationship, but. I guess they wanted to make the characters from in the Earth 2 book like younger, so they couldn't include Obsidian, his son, and so they just made Alan Scott gay instead. So I thought they were sort of cashing in on it at first, but it turns out it is well written. So
that's one of the things that kind of, I mean, they cash in on things, but the writers these days are so high class that they can take these cash-ins, and a lot of times they can turn them around, and not always.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are like the Spider-Man Obama like series when he was doing something with the president for a while. I was just like,
I think Barack had his own comic too,
really
like, themed after Conan.
Wow,
like Barack the Barbarian, I think.
So see, sometimes they can turn it around.
I've seen some funny things.
Other times they can't. I mean,
Rock the Barbarian.
Don't even get me started on the social issues inside of Garfield.
Have you ever seen Garfield without Garfield?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good comment.
Depressing.
Wow.
I mean, that stuff even goes into Archie.
Yeah, there's actually a gay character that's introduced in Archie.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but his name was Kevin. It's what I've read in the news about it. So,
now I follow a lot of. You read a lot of stuff from you get a lot of stuff pulled from the comic book store, but I read a lot of webcomics, and a lot of that is social commentary on the comic industry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how. I mean, it's kind of funny because like I follow these big stories because of the people commenting on them and like drawing these funnies that aren't really related, but. Two guys, Lar D'Souza and Ryan Somer. They do a comic called Gutters, which is I think it's twice a week, a full panel, a full page commentary on the comic industry specifically.
Okay.
And I think the one that they just put up was like, it's something that he's mentioned a lot of times. He's like, I can't wait until the gender, race, sexual orientation of a hero in a comic book series doesn't matter. And he was just saying, like, why is it such a big deal? Why does it matter? Why do we care? And he, he's like, this is such a big deal, and it's just a cash in, and people forget about it. And I was like, it's so true. And he was talking about, I guess there's a Green Lantern that's Armenian now, or Arab or something.
Yeah, he's going to be introduced next month in a Green Lantern #0.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of speculation about it.
and their commentary. The commentary in the comic strip was great. It was the Museum of Green Lanterns, and it had like blobs, and one of them was like a planet, like this Green Lantern's a freaking planet,
Logo.
and like all these weird creatures, and like this. It was a family going through this museum, looking at statues of all the Green Lanterns, and then they got to the new one, and it was like, because each one had like a characteristic under it, and it was like so and so a planet, so and so like a microscopic amoeba, like so and so, and then the last one was so and so Arabic, and like the parents were like covering the eyes of the kids, and they're like, oh, don't let them see it. Like it was like like a nudie thing at a museum or whatever, and that was their commentary. How ridiculous all these things are, and then they get to this, and it's the one thing that they're like, no. So
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your comic strip you were just talking about, David, it's talking about getting past all these issues so they can get back to the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was,
these things shouldn't be a big deal, really. It's just,
yeah, I agree. I mean, they shouldn't. And I mean, I understand, like, there's certain things where it's like, oh, the first, but now it's like, it's a big deal no matter who it is. It's like the gay characters in comics isn't something new anymore. Mm-hmm. But yet, any time that they introduce a character like that, it's like a big press release thing.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm. It should happen naturally, I think, without big deal, really.
Yeah. Focus on things like all the mutants losing their powers, or, the New 52.
Much more important.
Darkest Night. Or Garfield without Garfield. Like the important storylines.
That's enough. Or Odie and his boyfriend Yodi.
That is very important.
Well, even John, a single guy with a dog and a cat.
I'll have you know, he has a girlfriend now. Steady girlfriend for a while, if you read the paper. Which I do.
I don't get the paper.
I have it at work. And I read the funnies. And that's it. So.
Wow.
Well, Matt, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
If someone wanted to contact you or talk to you more about comic books or wanted to be part of one of your forums, where could they go to do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook, so I guess you can find me there, and I can recommend all different kinds of groups for comic book geeks or those interested.
So thanks again, Matt.
Thank you.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lawrence Lesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So, for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
Asking, are you in the cast? Yodi?
Yeah, or Yodi.
Oh, Odie?
Odie.
Oh.
I got mixed up with yoga.
You don't even know the character's name.
Wow.